All right, seeing that it is 5:30, I will call the City of Motley work session to order for July 10th, 2023. Roll call. All are present. As far as personnel and council, move on with regular meeting agenda review. Additions or deletions on your end, Darcy?
Not the work session,
Okay. Anybody else? All right, personnel policy updates, page 1 through 5.
What I put for the holiday pay is what the attorney kind of recommended for wording and stuff like that. And as I stated in this, I did talk to other cities or looked at their policies, so that's what they told me. I don't know if you guys want to change ours or stick with it, or, but I did the research and that's what I found. And then the call out pay was Jason's request.
That for the holidays, the vocab, the language in red that's in addition to what's in print.
Yeah, so the red would be the changes.
Okay. Makes sense to me. Juneteenth was a gift, wasn't it? Just allowed everybody to review their holiday pay.
Right. I like how you updated all this wording, Darcy.
I don't know if you were trying to change all the stuff to do with it. And then, yeah, for the part-time, it would only be if it fell on a day that they would normally work. So for Sarah, in Sarah's case, it'd be the holiday falls on a Monday through Thursday. I just figured we'd kind of talk it out today if you guys want, and then I can bring all of the changes to the next council meeting, so we can just do it as a whole.
Makes sense, they're clear, concise, eliminate the mystery.
So it sounds like nobody has any issues with the holiday pay, the way that's written or anything. Yeah, let me move forward making those changes.
Okay.
Any conversation about severance pay, do you guys want to leave it as is, or do you want any updates with that?
Is there a reason on severance, just in replication from other cities and municipalities, why you never earn 100%? Why it's just capped at 80?
It was just one that a couple that I'd seen.
So what you have here is what is currently?
Yeah, it's what it's currently, I just highlighted it because that
Okay.
was the question. That one isn't changed at all, it's just highlighted for comment. Everyone does it so differently, so this is just kind of some of the info I found.
Yeah, it's clear, it makes sense. I don't see any need to change anything else.
So you're saying 100% on severance pay?
No, I just was curious. Why something.
Oh,
I've seen it that way too. Just it seems very rarely do people ever get 100%. They just,
rare?
yeah.
Okay.
That just don't. We certainly could. They usually stop at 75 or 80 or 85. This is whatever, 100%. Anything else from anyone else on severance? Otherwise, we'll leave it as is.
That first sentence on severance pay, a lot of cities only pay leave out proper notice. That's in there, but how does that pertain to each individual that leaves?
Well, we don't currently do that. That's what other cities do, so,
Okay,
example, if we did it, we have to give, as department heads, we have to give a month notice. So as long as we give a month notice and work our month, we get paid. Full pay is how they were doing it, or full PTO. And then good standing was, if you weren't leaving because of, you're fired for doing something illegal or something.
You good?
I think it's good as written.
Is that enough? We good with them?
Okay. Call up pay.
That was kind of our continuing conversation from the end of last work session.
So how we currently handle it with call up pay, talk with Bruce and Jason.
Anybody who gets called out gets automatic 2 hours. No matter if it's 5 minutes or 2 hours, you get paid for 2 hours.
Okay, and does that matter if they're there for 2 hours or 5.5? It's just 2?
Yeah, but so if you're there 5 minutes, you get 2 hours, you're there 2 hours, you get 2 hours, you're there 5 hours, you get 5 hours.
Okay.
You don't get any additional for working past the 2 hours.
So for the sake of dialogue between Bruce and Jason, how often do you get called out for more than 2 hours?
Yeah, I mean,
Not very often?
but, yeah. We do get called out, you usually try not to get overtime anyway, so you take off at the end of the week. And if you get stuck over, then you get overtime at the end of the week. So.
Okay.
That was where my concern was, is that we're expected not to have any overtime if at all possible.
Right.
Which, unless it's on your last day of the pay period and then you get stuck some emergency and you're here extra time. So if you're getting called out in the middle of the night, you're just getting paid straight hours for that extra hassle of being called out.
So really is a blended conversation about call-out pay versus overtime pay. Because can't necessarily control the scenario you're in. Darcy, if you wouldn't mind refresh my memory on how we left things at the last work session regarding that.
Jason's basically asking that he gets some kind of compensation for a call out versus just getting paid. Because if he's there more than 2 hours, he gets no benefit for it being a call out. I don't know exactly how you, I don't remember how you wanted to change it, but.
I was looking to have the wording changed, that if you're put on a call out, you get paid overtime pay, whether or not you work more than your 40 for the week or not, because you're getting called out special from home for that. You know, a lot of mine, I mean, I can't tell for sure if it was a 15-minute call or a 2-hour call when they're showing only 2 hours. Because I don't keep detailed records of that. But, I mean, there's a lot of, most time if I'm getting called out, it's not because somebody's cat is up a tree. You know,
No, I couldn't help but look at your call-outs from, what you had in the last year, and there's some up here that they're almost a full shift. They're 6 1/4, they're 5.5, they're 3.5. And when you look at the type of call, and barring that you really can't get into detail, there's no way of, I guess my struggle is that departmentally, and again, I'm not just focused on Jason, I struggle with, we have things that happen, and we have obligations to see things through, and every lane is gonna be different for people, but if something takes 5 hours of people's time, and they're willing to do it, and they're still willing to put in their shift on Friday, why are we shorting the end of the week because we had something happen on a Tuesday night? I just philosophically, and if I'm the alien in the room, fine, then shut it down and somebody else speak up and move on. But I'm bringing this stuff because these are the things that when we talk about what are we hearing, it's an absence of presence, or it is a concern that, hey, we got employees that they gotta stick at 40 hours and can't go a minute over. And I don't think that's realistic in some of the things that can happen and come up. And departmentally, I wanna see people's time honored. I just do. And like I said, if I'm the only one in the room, then somebody shut me down and let's move on. Otherwise, we can sit here in silence and not have any dialogue, and I'm not appreciative of that. These are discussions that are being had out there. They come here, and it's up to us to discuss them. And if we don't want to, then fine, then we can move on.
Well, I'm not gonna speak on behalf of what the police department does, but looking at Bruce and Darcy, I know there's times in the evenings, because that's when I can work on some of this stuff, because I don't have the ability to during the day, that I'm texting her or emailing her or calling her. And I feel that her response to me in such a timely manner on her time off or on a weekend, she should get paid time and a half for that. I think it's valuable. I would expect it from my employer, that if I'm putting in extra time, that I'm being compensated from it. No different than if Bruce is running up to the sewer plant to unplug something so that everybody's sewer is working correctly. I mean, he's getting called out from supper or getting woken up in the middle of the night. I think it's worth something more than more regular pay, and I don't think he should have to be punished or not have to count that towards his 40, because it is above and beyond, in my opinion. No different than Darcy going above and beyond.
Anybody else?
The call-outs generally are emergencies. And they generally are when days or evenings when people are not normally working. They're not just people working on evenings or days when they're not scheduled to be, just for the sake of working.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting called out, I don't see a problem with time with them getting paid more.
Steve, Nikki?
You said, Pat, it should be emergencies, so that I'm understanding this. Like on 6/1/2023, 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Was 6/1 like a Saturday where you are bringing this in? This is just nights and weekends, right? Or when you're not
I was
working?
outside of my regular normal working hours,
Okay.
so I have to leave early so I can get the vehicle there for,
Gotcha. I did check with a couple other towns. I mean, not a lot of people get back to you in a timely manner, but I know like Pillager, they don't have, correct, the county just does all their call outs is what they've said.
I have no idea.
Which it's hard to compare town to town and who's busier and, you know, who. So, but I did check with a couple other Staples was, I wanna say 3 hours of call-out pay they get, and they try to avoid overtime as well. And take off, like Rose said, take off time, so they can avoid that, but those are the only two I spoke to. I don't really have a lot of concerns with myself with call-out pay.
Is it 6:30?
Yep.
Is that what it is? Okay,
Steve, anything to add?
No, I don't.
Okay. anybody wanting to shift and move things towards time and a half will be honored for call-out pay departmentally for department heads when asked to work outside of their normal work hours. That's kind of the question.
Is that pretty descriptive where it describes what it, like you said, texting and emailing? Is Darcy gonna get time and a half for texting and emailing us on a weekend, or?
I think we, what comes to mind right now, and another hat that I wear is I'm entering another hiring process with the school district, and as we are looking for an officer here. And as I sit and look at this panel, those interviews may have to happen in the evenings. That's the reality of it, or midday. And I don't know what that looks like for me currently in the line of work I'm in, but at some point, we're asking people to work when there's a cost to turnover. I've said that before. So we're already gonna look for one officer, and those interviews are gonna happen when they happen, when we get candidates. And I don't wanna spend an evening looking for an officer, and then all of a sudden our city offices are now closed because we needed to have interviews for 7 hours. So this isn't just to me about necessarily emergencies and sewer main broke and whatever. We are entering some administrative time that the rest of the city pays the price because we have turnover. So I think, and when I went through and I talked to Darcy in the past, it's kind of been, everyone comes in during the day. And I don't know that that's going to be realistic when I look at the current structure of the city council and so many other positions. So for me, it's everything from emergencies to administrative. You honor people when we need them to work. So.
So what happens on citywide cleanup day when it's outside your normal working hours, if you're doing a Saturday instead? Are you paying time and a half for that?
Yes.
Or
Am I responsible to that? Yes.
Or you have to play flush hydrants on a Sunday because the industry, you can't do it when the industries are running, so
Yes.
normally if you knew you had to come in, you were scheduling yourself just that different hour, it wasn't considered a call out then because.
Correct. And I also don't want to get in the way of, you may have designed this where that's, you do it on Sunday and you go fishing that year on a Tuesday. To each their own with this, but I think we're coming into some scenarios where I want to plan ahead of time, not after the fact. So if you were to choose that and you said, no, Sunday will be my Monday and I'll take Tuesday off, that's fine. I also think you should have the option of, I gotta work 6 days that week. We need you to work 6 days that week. Darcy's hours are pretty set. She's the safe example of, she's not always an emergency. But I think when it comes to hiring and the things that she's gonna have to do, she can't just be gone on Wednesday because we needed her on a Tuesday evening for interviews and we went till 9 o'clock at night.
One benefit of us being closed on Fridays is it does give me that flexibility where I can
Correct.
just leave early and it doesn't sit down.
I think this is one way of showing our department heads that they are very valuable to the city.
My motion would be that anything outside of the regular salary schedule of work week, employee and department heads would be compensated at time and a half. And only because I'm tired, I'm gonna ask, can I make that motion here, or does it have to wait until the city?
That's what I was gonna say, is this just a, do we go
This
back?
is just kind of a conversation, so,
That's just fine.
if there are changes you want to be made, I can make them, and then, yeah, I was kind of planning on just bringing them all to the next meeting, so we don't have to
Perfect.
pass it much, so.
Yeah. If you could bring that to the next one, and then that's when we'll.
do you wanna get rid of the minimum 2 hours and just do it time and a half, or,
I think time and a half is like, because if it's only 40 minutes, then it's 40 minutes. I
so,
think it honors the actual time that they're spending on the calls and the needs at hand. I think everybody wins in that transparency. Because you could argue that seven minutes is not 2 hours. You could go the other way real quick.
the only, kind of clarification there, Ken, on that is, so, what exactly normal, I mean, mine's pretty easy for normal working hours, because I'm basically here when City Hall's open, versus might not be as obvious, and, I mean, Jason, that's his own schedule, so I don't know if that's what we're going by, or how. Because say, Bruce leaves early on a Friday, and then something happens at 3 o'clock, he's already left for the day, but he's gotta come back to do this.
I would say it's outside of his hours. Because how are we to know that Bruce took off at 3 because him and his wife had something planned for the evening, and now he's having to come back in to take care of something?
She probably has a
So in
No,
that
it
scenario,
didn't touch
in
it.
that scenario, in my mind, he's either cashed in some vacation time, some PTO time, so again, his 40 hours is accounted for. Trade time is sneaky, I'm not a fan of it. Trade time is gray, and it disappears in the wind. This is black and white. He leaves early, he took 2 hours, he gets called back at 9 at night. His 40 was honored, because he earned the benefit that compensated that 40. It's still outside of his scheduled time.
I will make those changes and bring it to the next meeting.
All right, moving on, hiring committee policy. We don't really have. So leave the position out of it. I think it comes down to who should be on it, and do we want community, the discussion was had, meetings and conversations after the last meeting. Is there a community liaison? Is there a business representation we'd like to have? I've been a part of hiring. As a school administrator, I've been asked to be a part of lots of different hiring things, but they're very upfront about who they were looking for. And it's just, again, organized and structured. We're not that big, but how many are needed and who and how.
I think a variety is good too, brings more to the table. I've been part of, I used to work in HR, and I've been in hiring committees for nurses, and I don't have a medical background, but we all brought something to the table. And I like your idea of pulling that between one and or two, or, yeah.
I think anybody, as far as the council is concerned, if they want to be on the hiring committee, I think they should be able to do that. It's kind of always been that way.
Sure. Up to 5 council members. I'd like to see a business representative in a community. I think part of this, I'll be candid, part of this is 3 out of 5 are new here at the table, and it has created dialogue. Change brings talk. I'm not quiet. I'm not quiet out there. There's curiosity about what's going on. Do we know what we're doing? Why are we going backwards? Why are we talking about things we've already talked about? So in this is a call of just being transparent. we're gonna hire a position, up to 5 council members, we'd like to see a community member and a business owner. And if they wanna engage, great, at least they were invited to the table. If they don't, well, at least we asked. So.
I agree with that.
I'm not departmentally specific, I just think it's up front and we have an answer for it. And we're not sitting here on a Monday night in silence, hemming and hawing. Nope.
So are you talking about up to 5 council members on a hiring committee?
Like Steve said, if 4 out of 5 just have a vested interest, wanna be there, then fine. If it's 5, then my question is, does it become a public meeting, because we're all,
It does.
If you have more than 2, so if you have
So
3 or more,
Yeah,
it
so-
has to be open to the public.
since we have 3, and
So only 2?
only 2 can be on there without it becoming a public meeting. Once it becomes public, then everybody in the community that wants to can come to every hiring committee. You have to post them. That could present problems with
Mhm.
talking to
The
people about
newspaper.
personnel matters.
Yeah.
The newspaper went to the clerk, interviews in 2016. Well, that's because the whole council was on there, so. It's a little awkward if you do interviews, I
Very.
imagine.
So again, I will circle back, and I'm just gonna speak my mind on this. Thank you for the dialogue. We are sitting in these meetings way too much in quiet. That's a great valid point. It can't be up to 5, it has to be 2. And we have liaisons that are affiliated with every department, so it should be that council member that's a liaison, plus a 1. And at that point, I don't care if we draw straws. But this is the kind of dialogue that must be happening, because when we leave here and we haven't had it, shame on us for not having it here in this room. So, thank you for the clarification that it can't be 5. I don't want to interview in public. I've done it. I've done it. That's part of my career. It's not fun. Well, or you sign up for it, so you get ready for it, but
So there is not currently a hiring committee policy.
There's not.
Are we adopting one then?
I think I just want I'd like to see clarification, call a policy, this is how we do it. It's 2 council members. And I still don't mind the idea of a community rep and a business rep, but it can't be up to 5 or it's a public meeting, and I don't want that for an employee. That's awkward. No thanks.
What about department heads?
But I think that's important, because I think when you're interviewing people, you within 5 minutes know if you can work with somebody or you can't. And ultimately, they work with them 40 hours a week, we don't.
Yeah, that's my thought. So if the department head can do it, I think the department head should be on the committee.
So 2 council, department head or heads, community member, business liaison. Optional on both of those.
And you're saying the council, the department heads, all of them should be on it?
I think it's important. I mean,
If they can, yeah, if they can do it.
If we can.
Yeah, I mean, barring an emergency call out or something, I mean, there's, you know, if there's something that keeps them from doing it, understandable, but.
No, yeah, no, I have absolutely no problem with that. It's just,
I think all the department heads should have the opportunity to take part in the hiring process.
So do we put it out there to the public to see who steps forward wanting to be a part of this? And if we have 3 people that.
I think we should be careful on that.
Right.
my experience is a screening committee, they apply to do it and they must pass a valid background check.
Okay.
It's a process. But you also have to have somebody that is coming in for the right reasons, not some wonky agenda. So.
Well, as far as the total number on the hiring committee, what seems to be the range for best manageability of it? You know, you get too many people,
Mhm.
it's like you formed a big committee.
You know, if you have the department heads, that would be
3.
3, 2 council, 4 or 5. And then if you get a business or community liaison, the functionality, I have interviewed in front of 16 people, is just giving you that also as an indicator of you're not where I want to be. Because 16 of you need to try and agree on a decision, and that ain't gonna happen. So I'm not a fan of any, somewhere between 7 and 8. How's that?
I see 5 to 6 or
Yeah.
so, but
I think anything more than 7 and yeah.
I would go either way. I was just curious why somebody from the outside, I don't think that's necessary at all, and I have no reason to say otherwise. I'm just wondering how important is that? They don't know anything about what's going on.
Fair. Department heads, 2 community, and a +1 of business, or doesn't have to be. I just keep throwing ideas up because we sit in silence. You can go ahead and crush them. It's fine with me. I do think our last special meeting we had, that was law enforcement related. That's where this is coming from. The dust has settled a little bit, but we went from, we've always employed 2 officers. Now maybe we should do 1 contract out. We had community and some people here and things to say, and it's been discussed since then. So hot topics sometimes bring up different dialogue. Steve, I don't disagree with you. I also don't want to sit here with.
No, I think the dialogue is going well on this, what
Yeah.
we're talking about now.
Yeah, but to your point, I don't necessarily want to sit with people that they have no business being a part of the interview process. That doesn't serve it either.
Well, I know he's on it, but I know I want to be on the hiring committee for the police.
Yeah, if we're just doing 2, I know originally I wanted 2, but Steve, you've been doing it for how many years, and so I would remove that from the agenda and take my request off, that's fine.
So we'll go with the defined department heads, 2 council members for hiring committee, and it's fine with me.
So, just the 5.
Yep.
Do you want anything about, like, an outside party, like Jason wanted someone from another police department, or maybe higher administration? We've had a city administrator from somewhere else be on it.
There's merit to that. When I was administration in Staples, I sat on the chief interviews and the officer interviews as a community liaison. But I was selected by their council to do that. It wasn't, I was called, are you willing to sit? And that was a professional courtesy district to the city. I didn't have to take a day off for it, I didn't have to, we also had a connection to the liaison officer as well. So there was merit to that.
So if we bring in someone from the outside, we have to eliminate 1, either a business or is 8 okay?
No, we're back to, it'd be 6, because it's 2 council, the 3 department heads, and you'd bring in a selected that the council say this is a recommended person.
Okay.
Like great people that help with June Fest and other things, and they've already expressed their involvement, and their engagement with the city, and I think this group of people has a right and obligation to say, yes, this person would be a great addition to the interview committee. If we felt it was needed.
that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
One thing I'm thinking we should do is determine some way of deciding who would serve on the council. Because right now, okay, we have the liaison, that's not a problem, but the second person, and this is not for this particular hiring committee, so I'm not trying to squeeze you, Steve, but for the second council person, it seems that whoever speaks up first gets it. And somehow I think we should set it up where everybody on the council gets, I mean, if we're gonna have hiring committees, everybody on the council should have an opportunity to serve on the hiring committees.
With that being said, Pat, I, just like Steve, wouldn't mind being on it. I don't see it financially benefiting me to be on it. But just knowing a little bit of that force of that occupation, I mean, I feel I don't have any less right than Steve would to be on the committee. If I'm wrong, say so.
What did you say? Say that again?
I feel that if I want to be on the law enforcement committee for the hiring here, that I don't have any less of an obligation than you would. In other words, if I want to be on it and you want to be on it, how do we decide who's going to be on it? Is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna set up a policy,
How do we determine the
then we
second
should set up a
person?
policy. Either that or it's a scramble each time to whoever speaks up first.
Well, I don't know, I feel like there's 5 of us, and out of respect for each other, like if Steve has been on it for 4 years and I'm new to it and he's done it and has experience, okay, I'm not gonna
And how are
fight
you-
for that position.
And you're on the city council, how are you gonna get the experience?
Yeah. Yeah. So you wanna alternate? Is that what you're saying, kind of, or kind of do a variety?
I mean, okay, I'm on as liaison of the police department. The next hiring could be public works or administrative.
Okay,
So if somebody else goes in as liaison, that doesn't automatically give me the right to say, well, I want to be on that hiring committee
that
too.
makes sense, okay.
I mean, I have experience on hiring committees, but you're never going to get any experience if you don't start serving.
Yeah, that makes sense, so maybe we
And
should alternate.
Same here. Well, you've got experience otherwise, but still.
No, but there's merit to that. We do that at school. We rotate.
Yeah, there should be some policy where we rotate.
Okay.
How are we going to determine that though?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we have this hiring committee. I'm on as liaison, Steve's on as the other person. Next hiring committee, unless it's still with me being liaison, Steve and I would both be at the bottom of the list. You 3 would move up. The order in which you move up would be something we need to determine. So you're not back to whoever speaks up first gets it,
Makes sense.
you know?
Scheduling could just be the determiner for that,
Yeah.
between the 3, what is available.
Yeah, it could be.
Mm-hmm.
But at least get it so that everybody, you know, has an opportunity to serve on the hiring committees. You know, like I said, I mean, how are you ever gonna get any experience if you don't serve on the hiring committee?
Okay, just checking. Okay.
Like how you put it, this next round, you guys are at the bottom, just carousel it around.
Next round, me and Steve will both be at the bottom of the list, so neither one of us will be on there. And we could sit back and watch the 3 of you work it out.
Yep. Works for me.
Unless one of us was liaison again
Yep,
at that time.
yep.
You want me to
Yes.
draft a policy then and bring
Yeah.
it to officially be approved?
That'd be great. Thank you. Employee wages budget discussion.
Council training.
Yeah, just the door six.
Oh, did I skip over six?
Yeah.
Yep, I prematurely crossed off.
I had just brought this up because like you said, Mike, 3 of us are new. And there's nothing in the manual that I had seen about requiring training or going to training. And I know going to the League of Minnesota City training for new voted in council members was very beneficial. And I think if we require new council members to go to this, it can take some work off of Darcy's plate or anybody's plate, because our answers could have been, the answers to our questions could have been answered out of that workshop.
Do they offer things online?
Yeah,
They do.
I've attended webinars.
Okay.
The league has wonderful webinars, and they have different videos you can watch too.
They have some things that cost money, some things that are free, so depends what you want to do.
My question is, can we legally regulate that? I mean, is that a city attorney question?
I did ask, and it's kind of up to.
Actually, I think I already know the answer to that.
Okay.
If somebody, I don't see how we can require anybody to take the training. We can make it available and we can encourage it, but I don't see how we could possibly require it.
It's not like we hold a license where we
Right.
have to have so much education on a certain topic.
You got elected, that's your,
Correct.
that's it. I mean, because if somebody comes along and refuses to take the required training, what would be the consequences?
Right. I think if we can all just communicate with each other, if we find training that we think would be valuable, or like Darcy does, I know there's some on this agenda, I think even just that is important for all of us.
That's a good idea.
I mean, Mike, you might come across training, just emails as a mayor that, you could share with us that we could